All right, it isn't raining water out of the sky, so that's a good sign. We got all the plumbing installed last night that we needed to reconfigure over here. And if nothing else, the temporary part to get it behind the wall where we can't access once the wall is in is complete. So the next step now is we need to get the foam board insulation up against the wall, and then we're going to work on creating our new studded wall structure. So I'm going to go ahead and throw this foam board up. We already had it cut previously, but we did take it down while we were doing some other things over here, particularly working on the exterior of the house, changing the grade, and adding the additional drainage tile in. If you're interested in that process, there's a link down in the description for that video. All right, let's get this foam board on the wall. I didn't mention it previously because I already had the walls cleaned up, prepped, and painted. But we do have a section here that we had to do some mortar repair on the face of this bottom block that is not prepared. I like to clean and coat the walls with this UGL Drywall brand waterproofing basement wall paint. This stuff works great in sealing the mortar and the actual concrete in the block to help prevent it from seeping and leaking water through. So let's get this opened up, stir it up, and get it on this bare mortar here. This stuff is way more thicker than your traditional paint. And make sure you stir it up really good. Not a whole lot left in this. I've been using this for quite a while. Paint all touched up down here. Obviously we painted this previously. I didn't show it on camera, but the box sill up here, we put 2-inch foam board flat up against the box sill. Now we're going to put our 1-inch thick foam board against the wall here. On this, I'm just going with a friction fit. Originally I was going to glue it, but once the walls are studded up, that should be enough force to hold it up. And if there's any gaps in between the studs, I'll fill that with spray foam. We're also going to cap the sill plate. So you have foam flat up against this blue stuff, you have foam flat up against the rim joist. 1-inch piece coming across on top of the sill plate, and then our vertical piece here going all straight up and down the wall. Seal that with spray foam, and this whole thing will be one sealed off area. All right, let's get to building this wall. Can you tell a mechanic guy is working on carpentry and woodworking? I got my monster gear wrench pry bar out. The 2x4s on this studded up wall section were twisted and not necessarily as straight as we'd like them to be, but we wanted to use them just because the price of lumber is so expensive these days. I'm going to have to fight with that a little bit off camera, and then you'll see me finishing the rest of this off. And We got our Johnson rotary laser level affixed to the wall here, and we're going to use this to locate all of our outlets around the room. We fixed this unit in a previous video. If you're interested in that, I'll leave a link down in the description. Here we go. Got it all leveled. All we gotta do is turn it on. We have our service panel here. We're gonna bring the wires for these outlets out of the bottom of this. Run one circuit to each box. Well, not to each box. Run a circuit to this box and then jumper over to the other guys. Welcome over to the service panel here. We have the main wire that we're going to feed all the outlets in this room that we just strung the wire to the boxes. We're going to feed this into this service panel and grab power from here. Now we already have a tandem breaker up here with one side that's not used, so we're going to go run up here and feed it off of this breaker. If you didn't know this already, you can get tandem breakers. Essentially it takes up the same size as a single breaker, but it has two separate circuits on it, which is really convenient, especially if you're lacking for space. In here we got plenty of extra room. You're not supposed to work on a service panel if you're not an electrician. I'm not an electrician, but we're going to wire this circuit up. If you're not confident in your abilities to do this, don't try this at home. This circuit is live. Up here, these two main lugs will have the hot power for the entire house, and these will always be live unless you disconnect your meter base outside or have the power company turn the power off. This is the main shut-off breaker. You can turn this off, but it's still going to have live power up at these lugs. Don't touch any of those metal strips here either. They're really handy if you've never used these before. I was skeptical the first time I got them. Basically it's a pop-in clamp. That way you don't have the lock ring on the back. You just pop her in place. They are a little bit difficult to get in. Yeah. One of the other things that I like to do when you're installing a new wire, technically all you needed to do is turn this breaker off so you can safely contact that connection screw. But if you just pop it off of the main legs, then this breaker is no longer connected to anything. Okay, that circuit's all wired up. Now all we have to do is wire in all the outlets. If you really want to get fancy, you can get your insulated screwdriver. Technically don't need it, but it is a safer option. Boom. That ought to do. We're putting this conduit in here behind the studded wall. That way if we ever need to add in a new circuit or a new line, we can just snake it through this conduit and not have to disturb the whole wall. No contractor is going to do that for you. You have to tell them that you want this. They'll gladly come back in, rip a hole in your wall, and charge you to repair it. Add that in. Before we finish the wall, we have these little protector plates You place these on the stud to prohibit you from screwing into your circuits or conduit in this case. So we're going to place a couple of these on here. I'm going to take the wood chisel and chip out the thickness of this plate. That way it doesn't blow our drywall out. This will protect us in the future when who knows what you're screwing to the wall. Oh yeah. It's as easy as that. Now you don't have to worry about drilling into your electrical circuits when you're adding stuff to the wall in the future. We're going to put a cap on top of the sill plate so you have like a box. You have the inside wall, you have the flat foam board on top of the sill plate, and then you have the vertical foam board on the rim joist up in the box sill. Here's the piece we just cut. This is going to cap the sill plate. Piece back here is the box sill insulation. Nice little friction fit is what you want to go for. And we're going to go ahead and seal all the corners with the cracks with some great stuff foam. It's a little interesting with all these wires here. Trying to do this without making too big of a mess. We got all the box sills insulated. We got the rim joist insulated, and then we blasted it with a little spray foam to try to fill in the gaps. We also took the spray foam, filled around the irregular steel beams that we had, and then anywhere there was a joint or a crack in the foam board to try to seal that all up. We made one heck of a mess with this stuff, and it says wear gloves right on the can. They are not lying. I did not wear gloves. This is the first time I've used this much of this product. Usually I only use like half a can, 1 can at a time. Well, I used like 10 plus cans, and the stuff dried. If you get after the stuff with some paint thinner before it fully cures on your hands, you can get it off. Once it's fully hardened, it's on there for a couple of days. So we're going to be picking some skin and foam off for the next couple of days. Anyways, we have this all sealed. We got this all sealed up. We have our wire protectors in. We have our spare circuits in. We have all our wiring. We have our conduit for running in new wiring at a later date. And we are ready to put in the insulation. I like to use this rock wool insulation. It's made out of a material which I'm not 100% sure, but in my mind it is way more water resistant than traditional fiberglass insulation. This is cut in bats for 2x4s on 16 inches on center. So all we have to do is pop this open and slap it in between the 2x4 studs. I'm not going to go over it in great detail. We're just going to throw you in a time lapse here and pop this in. But one nice thing about this is get yourself an old bread knife. Buy your wife a brand new bread knife. Steal her old one. This is how you cut this stuff, just with a bread knife. I love this stuff in comparison to fiberglass. It's so much easier to work with. You just, and away you go. Here we go. We got all the insulation in, and now we're left with one heck of a mess, from spray foam to wood chips, foam board, insulation piles. We got to get this all cleaned up so we can actually move down here and move on to the next step. Yeah. OCD started to kick in a little bit, and I started putting all the tools away. I think I'm just ready to be done with this project. He even put away tools I still needed. Next up, we have some plastic. Some 6mm plastic here. We're going to unroll this and try to wrestle it up on the wall here. It's going to wing it here. Trick is, with this plastic, you want to have it taut to some degree. That way the blade will just slice right through it. Pro tip: fold your wires over and stuff them back in the box. That way you can sheet over this a whole lot easier, and then just pull it out and you're ready. We got her all wrapped in plastic. All the exterior walls for this remodeling project. Couldn't be happier. Now we're ready for drywall. Now, I'm pretty sure I overdid it with the staples. You really just need enough to keep it up there until you get your drywall, or your covering will hold it up tight. I went around stapling it, and the nice thing about stapling is you can feel any obstructions that's going to hold your drywall off. That way you're not trying to wrestle a big heavy piece of drywall up there and you find, oh, I have a screw over here, or oh, there's a piece of foam sticking out. You got to peel off. So pretty sure everything's clear, and we are ready to bring in the drywall. All right. $44.50. Important to note, when you're studding up a wall, you want to make sure you have the studs positioned such that you can minimize the number of joints. And also, you want to always end with a butt end and a quarter. That means you're not going to use the tapered edge of the drywall and stab it into the corner. We're going to cut that tapered end off and place that in the corner. So this first sheet has to be less than the full 48. We're going to take that first sheet, go from the corner, go to this stud right here. Isn't really ideal because you don't want to break it at the window. That's just how it works out on this wall. Shouldn't be that big of a deal. We'll see. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3. End with a butt end in this corner as well. That way you have two nicely formed corners. Here comes the hard part. We got to cart this big sheet of drywall into the house and down the stairs so we can put it up on the wall. Luckily, I was commenting in a forum and someone mentioned a carrying tool. I got this baby strapped right here to my tool belt, and this guy right here makes a world of difference. I never heard of this before he mentioned it, so thank you if you're watching this video. I greatly appreciate it because this thing is awesome. This makes the world of difference when carrying sheet drywall around, and I guess it works for wood paneling as well, but wow. Simple. It's a little bit heavy. Oops. It's a little bit heavy on the old tool belt, but she's right in there. Whip this guy out. Position it on your drywall. Try to balance it, and away you go. Just use 7-penny nails to tack it up there. Had a little bit of a difficult time. Had to switch into my tennis shoes because I can get my toe underneath the sheet here with the way it's positioned and lift the drywall up without having to use a tool. I'm sure they have a special tool. It just didn't work with my boots. Tennis shoes, it works. So we just pop those in there temporarily so we can get the sheet up there one-handed or one-manned. Now we're going to get the drill, start zipping our screws in. One thing that's critical and speeds up things a lot, so I made a mark where every stud is beneath the sheet. This way we can quickly and easily identify where the screws need to go on the stud. I like to use these T-squares meant specifically for paneling, drywalling. It's important to note, I always put 2 lines because I never trust these things and it has hosed me before. Theoretically, it should be right, it's always square, but that second little line mark gives you that extra assurance that your line is nice and perpendicular to the sidewall. These things are so long, you know, any irregularities here could really just throw your line completely off. Right, wrong, or indifferent, what I do for outlets is I locate one wall, give it an extra 1/8 of an inch of clearance or so, locate the top wall, and then I just take a spare junction box, plop it on there, and draw a line around it. I've had varying results on this so far. A lot of it is because I mismeasured or the sheet didn't go up quite as I had planned. So we're going to cut just outside of this line here that we traced for the junction box, and then on the line in the 2 other directions. Always pierce the outer skin with my razor blade or utility knife first. No, you don't risk tearing it. And then go after it with your drywall saw. Since we pierced it, if you do 3 sides, you can break this side. Then just cut the sheeting, away you go. This is going to be the notch for the large window opening. Technically, I should leave a very small strip here that were missing on the stud on the left of the window, but I'll likely just break that off because it would just be like a, I don't know, 3/4 inch wide piece here and then an 1.5 inch wide piece on the top. And I'll break that window off carrying it down there. So we're gonna take out this whole corner section. We'll add those 2 small pieces back in later. The key about doing this, so we have a corner section, so we have to cut 2 sides. I'm going to pierce the outer skin with my utility knife, and then I'm going to saw one side and then break the longer edge, just like I did on the outlet. That right there is what happens when you turn the video on. Every other piece went flawless, but we got a little snag on the end. No big deal, it didn't go all the way down to the sheetrock. Huh. Well, she's up there. She fits, but something's not right here. Need to magically make this piece go back in there. Oops. I got interrupted when I was marking the hole and used the dimension for here instead of the dimension for the left and right on the outlet box. Best part about working with drywall, we can fix that. Barring anything like a massive crack breaking off the entire corner, we can fix that with relatively easy approach. We'll have to tape that, but it is what it is. I'm not going to throw away the whole sheet just for that boo-boo. Here we go. Let's get this screwed. This is the last piece on this exterior wall, and I am super excited to be done drywalling and messing with this. Now, we had a little bit of a foobar over here with the outlet location. Completely my fault, just wrote down the wrong measurement. Well, I took the right measurement, but I didn't draw it correctly on the sheet. I went for the window instead of, whatever. Not important. I screwed that up. This is the last panel, and it just so happens to have an electrical outlet here. I didn't test fit this yet. Here's the hoping this goes up. Here we go. Uh-oh. I got good news and I got bad news. I think the outlet was positioned correctly. The sheet's the right width. That gap's supposed to be there. Unfortunately, this wall over here on the right side is a little irregular in the corner. And it's not allowing the sheet to go over far enough. Probably about an 1/8 of an inch to 1/4 inch. Needs to go over further. So the wall has some irregularities where we have a gap pretty much the majority of the way, but the top and the bottom must kick over in this corner here. So I'm going to try to shim or shave a little off the top and the bottom. The outlet fits. Important to note, make sure you disconnect the power on this or turn this off before you go pulling that out like that. You shock yourself. And it's probably not safe to be working in front of this open load center either. Could put a piece of cardboard over it because because the cover has to be off of it to do this. Potentially left this spot open here. We're going to put a wood cover over this. Potentially the same wood cover, probably surface mount. And when this is all final done product, there's going to be a hinged mirror here. That way all of this will be covered up. So I might not even put a piece of drywall here. Just a wood cover, surface panel cover. Should be good to go. We got a little nastiness going on over there in the corner, I'm not going to lie. This sheet to my right here was a real bear to get in there. Need to do some patchwork here, fix that guy, and then a couple small pieces on this window. There she is. Look at that. Went from a crappy old cinder block wall that was all bowed in and out to a nicely finished, fully insulated drywall finished wall. Now we have to, you'll see this, I need to put a filler piece in there, tape it. But look at that. I could not be happier with this. Made a few boo-boos, need to patch in around the pipe there. We're going to build a box around that because that has to stay there. We're going to adjust the plumbing, but that will have to stay there. So there'll be a little bump out that gets put around that. The load center is going to have a hinged mirror covering it. But yeah, that is nice. Ooh. Ooh. Nice blue drywall. Ooh. That's the mold and mildew resistant drywall. I'm used to the green version, so I always called it green drywall or green board. This particular manufacturer makes it blue. I'm not for sure, but it does definitely brighten the room up a whole lot better than what the green board would have. Obviously, we're going to paint it, but it looks pretty nice. If you like this video, don't forget to give me a thumbs up. Leave your questions and comments in that section below, and don't forget to punch that subscribe button your way up. Thanks for watching, everyone.